Hello, Michael Sheridan here, and welcome to So You Think You're Awake. This week, to help me catch up on dreams I've wanted to cover, I'm again just going to cover dreams you've emailed me. There is no show without dreams, so don't just assume others will send them in. I need lots. If you want a dream done, send it to radioshow@dream-analysis.com or text them from your smartphone to 206 708 7254. If you want to come on the air, phone the station on 425 373 5527. That's 425 373 5527. You can find all these details and more on my website at dream-analysis.com/kknw. And straight away, I hope she's still there. We have Melissa on the phone line.
Hello?
Hello, Melissa.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call.
Good. I hope you have a dream, and I hope I can tell you what it means.
Oh,
so
thank
please
you.
share your dream.
So I'll hurry with the dream. It seems kind of long, but I'll hurry.
Okay.
So what happened is I swear to you I was awake, but come to find, I guess I was asleep. Because 1 minute I was awake, and the next minute I'm not. But my dog, we're watching this dog, and so she was like looking at me, and I was like, okay, as long as you don't lick me in the face, I'm fine, and you're fine. So all of a sudden she started moving her head left to right and went really, really fast. Then this monk appeared with a staff, a short staff, and started twirling it really fast. And the color gold was in the middle, and then it turned into real gold, and I could sense the weight of that real gold. And then the time kind of warped. And the next thing you know, I'm in this monk monastery, and this high officials was with a high-ranking monk, and they were going to go into this room, and they told this other monk, oh, kick her out. I was like, what? And so when the little monk guy went to, I say little monk guy because he's not really high-ranking.
Okay.
But he tells me, oh, you got to go and get out. And he pushes me a little bit, and I kind of step back down one step. And then the next thing you know, he looks to the right. Then he has a face, as he's looking at me, he gets this bewildered look like, holy, what? And he tells me that that he only knows it of legend, the most powerful magician and warrior has awakened. And he looks at me, and the next thing you know, this big giant guy comes out of the ceiling and he wants to kill me. And I'm like, okay. And then so I just surrender because I knew that thing that was awakened was within me. So then I put kind of like a force field up, I guess, because when the giant guy went to kill me, at first I was scared. Then I surrendered and said, oh, I just have to trust that I know what I'm doing and that this thing that's awakened in me is going to help me.
That's the right thing to do in a dream.
So I just kind of released everything, and when he went to hit his staff up against my neck, my throat, he's paralyzed. He can't do anything. It's like I got a force field, but he can't move. So, of course, I kick his butt. And then he disappears. And then I tell the monk guy, I said, did you tell that high monk that I'm back and I'm awake and I'm here? And he goes, I could tell that he hadn't. I said, well, you need to go tell him I'm back.
Okay.
And then that was a dream.
Okay. So what part of it relates to reality? And obviously it's all symbolic, so very little of what happened there could. But in terms of, say, spiritual development or trying to develop particular abilities like communication, because he mentioned the throat and a staff touching the throat and so on. And so what are you doing in your life in that area, or have been doing or thinking about doing in that area?
Writing a book.
Okay. And what's the book about?
It's a beautiful, sensual book.
Okay, you're very modest. I'm joking. You need to push your own thing. But what is it about? What's the subject matter? It's a beautiful, sensual book, but like, what's the focus?
It's about finding yourself and being in love.
Perfect. Okay, so we can relate the dream to that. And so what's obvious in the dream is, okay, you have this monk with this golden staff, and I'll come back to the dog later on. But you have the monk with the golden staff. So he represents a spiritual knowledge. Golden dreams, I often say it's about spiritual healing, but it also represents wisdom. And Like you would see a golden aura, for instance, around pictures of religious leaders and so on. But so it represents that, and it represents a spiritual authority. And what happens in the dream is this person brings you up to a higher place, and it's like you've awakened, like you say in the dream so many times, and you're brought to this higher place. But then they want to kick you out, but it's never that. You always turn it around. It's like you're questioning your own authority in these matters, or, and this could also be true, somebody else recently had a conversation with you where they questioned your authority, like, oh, what would you know, or whatever it happens to be. It can be an easy put-down remark, which, wouldn't mean much except for how your own childhood is. That's how things really get a power, how words get a power. So whatever way we are raised as children, buttons are installed that will affect some of us some way and others other ways. And the things that push our buttons in life are because they're given this strong power early on. But that's exactly why they're there. They're there for a reason. So this is one of the things that your book will probably address, is letting people come into their own power and overcoming their own ill-perceived limitations. And so the fact that they're pushing you out in the dream doesn't mean in reality that you don't have this spiritual authority. You do. You have everything that you have in a dream. So you've got the authority to do this and talk about these things. And the huge warrior guy, he represents, like you in the dream, you correctly identified that that's awakened within you. So you're going to fight to find yourself or to be yourself and so on. So it's all very good, and you do all the right things in the dream. There's nothing in the dream whatsoever that you do that's wrong, and usually we find there is something we do. We run away from things or we mess it up in some way. But in your case, you haven't done anything wrong. You've taken your power, so to speak, and you've taken your place and said, okay, look, I'm here, I'm not going away, and that's perfect. But that's usually because you've done all the work on yourself. So it's really a good sign. It doesn't just happen for no reason in a dream. And then, so why does it start with the dog shaking his head? So it's the dogs in dreams, I mean, especially because you have a dog, they're just themselves. Dogs in reality, they're just themselves. They're loyal to a fault. But here, because the dog is in your dream, and it's shaking its head and so on, and doing something a little bit different. So this is something, it emphasizes that this is something that's a bit different than what you would normally do from in the body. So it's you can access this wisdom, but you don't do it in your normal state. I know it sounds probably kind of strange to say it that way. But anyway, that's the interpretation of your dream. So given that you're saying you're writing a book, then that's perfect. And it's probably all the research and work you've done on yourself in writing a book. I know from having written a book, it's never as easy as you think, and there's a lot of work and a lot of research goes into it, even on subjects that you think you already know a lot about. Before you really commit it to print and say, okay, I'm finished with the book, you topple everything over and question your beliefs and your foundation and everything you start from. And you end up stronger because of it at the end, but you do that because of the commitment of writing a book. So without letting you have a word in there, how does that feel to you, that analysis?
It feels good, but what does the blue something that's awakened, what is that?
Well, blue is the color of spirituality. It's the throat chakra. So you say this guy tapped you on the throat chakra. The throat chakra is blue.
No, he pointed it like he was going to try to kill me and hit me in the throat, and I wouldn't let him.
Okay.
I was like, oh, you're not killing me.
Okay,
today.
so it's the same thing, but the throat is to do with communication. So it's where the voice box is. So it's saying that this is the part of you that they're trying to silence, or at least that you've, for whatever reasons, whatever things that have gone on in your life, is the part that you have to overcome and allow yourself the freedom of expression that lets you say what you want to say with the spiritual authority.
What's the magician, though?
Magicians are good in dreams. They represent an ability to take a short road in things when we quite often, for instance, if a magician can make something seem real that isn't, or make it seem like we can do something by magic, taking huge shortcuts and get something done. But in a dream, it's real, so it represents that you can take shortcuts that you don't believe you can. Your normal way of doing things is to do it the long, hard graft way, but the magician in the dream would represent there are shorter cuts to do this. So
the magician warrior within me, that's me?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
It's a funny mix, but the magician is really good. I mean, he's a guide. I mean, even though he seemed in the dream to be turning on you, it's our own inner conflicts and our own things that we need to overcome.
I was the magician. The magician warrior guy was me. It was almost like awakened.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that's all good.
Okay.
Whether he's external or within you. I mean, it's good for you in the dream to realize, whichever way it went, to realize that this person is you, because we are everything in a dream. We are all aspects in a dream. So no matter whether you see somebody in the distance or somebody right beside you, they all represent different aspects of you. So to realize that this magician and
Okay.
warrior part is within you, it says you've got the strength to fight. You've got the ability to take. I'm saying take shortcuts, but I'm sure there's a better way
Okay.
of saying this. It's like you've done this work before, so it doesn't have to be long and arduous. There are ways that you can do this that is going to be much quicker and easier than possibly what you're currently looking at.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Right, so let's have a look at some of the dreams we've got in. And before I do that, I got an email from a person that reminded me that there are audio archives of all the shows so far, and you can get them on www.dream-analysis.com/kknw. You can also find them on YouTube by searching for So You Think You're Awake. And they're also on the KKNW website. Just go there and click on archives, and you'll get archives of all the various different shows, including mine. So last week I did a dream from Julie where it was about her ability to channel. And I always love following up and getting feedback on these things. So her dream was about her ability to channel, but it also had a pregnancy in there. And she wrote to me and told me that she is a channel and does give readings to people. But she's only been doing it since 2010, and that this all opened up for her when she was pregnant with her last child. So that gives us the connection with the pregnancy, which was is always interesting to see. I got a question from Daniel. He says, "What does it mean when you dream the same dreams?" And in his case, most of them involve flying with your hands. Well, we can have the same dream many times in our lives. Common ones, would be, for instance, resitting a high school test or a college exam. And we can have these many times, but they will be about different things each time, even though the dream means the same thing. So in this case, being able to fly, we obviously physically can't fly, but we can mentally project our mind to anywhere we want. So in the dream, it represents mentally rising above issues that you have in your life and getting the bigger picture. You always feel better after a flying dream because it allows us an escape and get a bigger picture of where we're going. And he says he's flying with his hands, but that's fine. It's still the same thing. So it indicates then you've got a strong intellect and you can use that. It doesn't kick in on its own, but you can sit down and meditate and mentally rise above your problems anytime you want. You'd also be good at sales and marketing, that sort of thing, or hypnosis. It's that sort of a strong mind. Okay, so I have a dream from Marjorie. She says, "I'm visiting an old woman. After a while, she trusts me and shows me one of her treasures. It is a white dress that is very, very old, possibly Egyptian. She tells me to put it on. It fits like a glove. It is long and forming to my bust and very flattering. I walk back and forth feeling its soft texture and flowing qualities. I tell her I'll take it as a joke. This is a treasure she isn't giving to me." Okay, so I'm going to continue on with the dream in the moment. But what you can see from the first part is she's talking about this dress and how soft it is and how its flowing qualities. And it's a treasure. So this is something that's important for the dreamer. And the woman, the old woman here is a wise woman too. But what I love about this dream is her clarity, her recall. She remembers what the woman says to her in the dream. So continuing on, it says, "She shows me the delicate weave, which is remarkable given that it is entirely handmade. There are spaces between the weave, and it is made with very thin threads, forming an unusual pattern. She then starts to confide some wisdom. What I recall is that one type of person gives into power to save themselves over history. They are survivors, but it is clear she wasn't admiring them. I'm sitting so close to her and feel honoured. She is so very old. I'm aware of her warm, hearty breath. My husband arrives and I get up and show him the dress, but I am now wearing a dark blue cardigan and it takes me time to unbutton it so he can see the top. He likes it." Okay, it continues on, but I will just summarise the first bit so far. So she continues on just to say one other thing. She comes up with the numbers 1995 and 1999 later on, which you'll hear. And that's always important to see in a dream. So basically, the summary of this is that she's been here in at least one lifetime before, working on the same issue that she's working on now. And as the lady says, the angel, she's a guide in the dream, or an angel, whatever you want to call them. And whatever they say is infallible. So they're the only character in a dream who's always correct. And she says, don't give your power away to survive. So if your life is going to plan, you will already have given your power away, and your big issues will be with your mother. And the reason I say they'll be with your mother is because it's a woman in the dream. And when we have a character like this in a dream, they tend to go the opposite way of the parent we have the issues with. So she's here, an angel, but also healing. So it's up to you now. Like the previous, what's gone on in your life is necessary, the necessary foundation for your work and for your growth. I mean, you obviously can't grow through something unless you pick up the issue. So you would have already had this in the spirit plane. We pick a lifetime here where we can pick it up on the physical plane because of the influence of certain other individuals in our lives. We pick that up, then work through it, hopefully. And when we get to the other side of it, we've reclaimed our power, in your case, power. And it's feminine because of the dress. And feminine power is all about compassion, listening, understanding. It's not an in-your-face type of a power. It's a very strong inner world, knowing yourself, knowing your strength, and not being fazed by other things that happen around you. So it's really cool. But anyway, let's continue on with your dream. Then he sees that this is your husband. Then he sees a TV console being moved by a young boy, which is a lovely golden brown wooden cabinet. He wants us to have it. It turns out we were in a store with this woman. When she and I met earlier, she was on a raised platform at one side of the store, sitting on a divan. Okay, so guides tend to be, in dreams, raised a little bit higher than ourselves. So here you have her in your dream, raised on a raised platform, and she's sitting on a divan, which is a pun for divine, showing off her divine nature. So that's good to see in the dream. The TV console represents your ability to get images through when you meditate or channel. And in fact, I asked you off air if you did get images, and you're already aware of that. So that's good for you. It being golden brown, in a golden brown wooden cabinet, says that this is a practical thing for you. Brown is a colour of the earth, or something that's earthy or practical. So here, because it's positive, because of the gold colour with it, it's saying this is a practical way for you to get wisdom. So again, nice to see in the dream. So that's one of your powers. The young boy who's moving the console is like one of my 5th grade students. And I've crossed out names. He says, want to see something cool? The console has 2 plugs. He plugs one in and the TV goes on. He plugs the other in and the TV goes off. We say we will take it, but then wonder if this is impulse buying. We haven't seen what else is in the store, and maybe there's a better one. It goes on a little bit, and you ask him what's his exchange policy. He says 1995, or was it 1999? And you're thinking that's a pretty big piece of the whole price, and it's an unusual one, and so on. And the old woman is sitting there observing. I've glossed over pieces. So, okay. So you saying we'll take it, and then you're wondering if it's an impulse purchase. Well, first of all, you already have this ability to communicate through, or hear answers through images. But in the dream here, because you're questioning that, it says you over-rationalize. So you look at things, you probably get information, and then you question it to death and eliminate the good it's doing, because by the time you've finished puzzling over it for some time, you've diluted the information because you don't give it as much stock as you need to. So it's good to know that. Go with the impression that you get initially. Don't over-rationalize, and take your own power back. There was one other thing I wanted to cover from this dream. Oh, yeah, your husband. So you're now in a relationship. This is really good. You're in a relationship that allows you the space to be yourself, because your husband arrives and you want to show him the dress, and he likes it, even though it takes you some time to take the cardigan off. So the cardigan, being a dark blue, says that you've picked up a heavy philosophy of life, or a negative philosophy of life, and this is something that you need to work through. Now, you've picked it up from your mom again. But you're in a relationship that will let you do that. It's one of these great relationships where you're able to be yourself. And we know that because he stays there waiting for you to take this dark cardigan off, and then he's pleased with you when you reveal yourself as you are. So he likes the real you. So again, this lets you, tells you you're in a space where this is really good. Other things that show reincarnation in this dream, apart from the nines are saying, you've been here before, and this is really a kick in the butt type dream that says, work on these issues because this is the last time you'll ever have to do it. But it's only the last time you'll ever have to come here to do it if you actually work on them. But we also have the reference to Egyptian, or something that's very, very, very old. And the Egyptian culture is one of the longest lasting civilizations going back in history. So it's even the guy who I learned how to interpret dreams from, he put lots of Egyptian symbols on the cover of his book because a lot of us have affinities to them. When it comes to past lives, when it comes to reincarnation, there can be quite often huge gaps of tens of thousands of years between incarnations. It doesn't have to be. They can be quite quickly in succession. But a lot of people have lived in the Egyptian era, so it shows up in dreams quite frequently to try emphasize reincarnation is a theme. Okay, so I hope I've done that one justice. So let's have a look at a dream from Martha. She says, I was in a room which was a lower wooden planked level of a structure, which was perhaps the hull of a ship, judging by the nature of the steep open wooden steps. I could also see clearly to the upper level and some other people. We all seemed to be in this place for the same purpose, and it somehow felt as if we were hiding out there, although I felt no direct or immediate threat. Now, she mentions threats a few times. Then I noticed the others upstairs quickly disperse as a full-sized tiger appeared from around the corner and then down the stairs straight towards me. I was a bit surprised, but not overly concerned, as I felt the tiger was not coming to harm me. In fact, the closer it got to me, the more sure of that I was. In fact, I actually hugged and petted it, feeling a mutually loving connection upon contact. It was as if the tiger was there more to support and help me than harm, and I was sharing that with the others just before awakening from the dream, or at least that's all I remember of it. Okay, so that's a really good dream. And Martha sent that in because she heard me talk about tigers last week in somebody else's dream, and indeed it does represent career. So your dream, basically the summary is a big career opportunity is coming your way. Now you may have to create this opportunity, but it's something you won't miss. It's going to be an obvious thing because of the way the tiger comes down the steps. There's no avoiding this in the dream, so there's no avoiding this in reality. It's big enough to be on a scale that would scare most people. Just like in the dream, it's quite funny the way you say it's a full-sized tiger. And it's always what we point out in the dreams is interesting. You are to embrace it, of course, because you embrace the tiger in the dream. So when this comes your way in reality, embrace it. There's good and bad in everything, but there's a lot more that's good in this for you than there is that would be any reason to stay away from it. But of course, be careful with it like you would be with a real tiger. So what do we need to go back and look at also? We have you sitting, you're in what you say you feel is the hull of a ship, and it's below the surface level, so you're downstairs. So this is basically saying, like the cargo in the hull of a ship, the ship represents your life journey and all in relation to career, so where your career is going, but you're being carried along by your career, just like cargo would be in a ship. So you're going where your career takes you, but now this opportunity is coming your way. So this is really good. Something's going to change, or at least you're going to get the opportunity. And when it does, because of this dream, absolutely go for it, because even though it's going to be scary, it's going to be well worth it for you, and it's going to be good. Okay, so we have another caller. We have Christine on the line. Hi, Christine.
Well, hello there. How are you?
Very good. And
this is my first time calling into your show, and actually my first time listening to your show.
Okay.
So I'm very fascinated.
Thank you. And let's have your dream. We are coming close to our time. So
I had a dream. I had this. I want to say that I keep having a recurring dream about water. Either I'm on a boat, or I'm trying to run away from something, and I'm in a boat. Or the other night I had a dream that I was in a plane, kind of skimming above the water, and sort of, just kind of like taking. I don't know if it was a seaplane or not, but it seemed like I was just skimming the water and then going above the city. And I don't know, but I've been having this recurring water dream for like 3 or 4 years.
Okay. So because we don't have a fully specific dream, we still have enough to say what the general theme is going to be about. Water in dreams represents, especially the sea, is going to represent spiritual life. It can represent just life on its own, but life is a spiritual journey. And it always depends on the audience. You can say things different ways, but it's always the same thing anyway. Life came from the sea, life came from the spirit world, so that's what the analogy is. So here, because you're having lots of dreams of being in a boat on water, it's asking you, where's life taking you, or what's your direction in life, asking you to look at that. And indeed, the dream is probably showing you the way it should be going, and may already be going the correct way. Like dreams quite often show us where we're going and why we're going in that direction. So it's not always asking us for a course correction. But it's about getting in touch with your spiritual life, and spirituality is not always what people perceive. It can be about writing, it can be about music, it can be about singing, many different things, teaching, counselling. It also is, of course, things of a psychic nature, but it doesn't have to be those. It's whatever is the expression of your soul, whatever really makes you feel like you're being yourself in that moment when you're doing that thing. That's what spirituality is about. And in doing that, we learn more about ourselves than in most other times in our lives. So just quickly, that's what water dreams typically are going to be about, especially when it's unpolluted water. I hope that makes sense to you.
Well, it does. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Darren. Blessings.
All right, take care. All right, so we have 2 minutes, so let's see if I can look at some other dreams very quickly. I have one that's it seems a bit strange on the surface, and Jerry Seinfeld's in it, and it's from Brian. He says, I was in an old folks' home. I was lying in my room in bed when I noticed a young woman breaking in through the window. I knew she intended to cause harm to the facility and to the people inside. She thought I was senile and told me she was there to give me my pills. I told her okay, and she threw what she called fat pills and a painkiller at me on the bed. I told her thank you for the pills. She went out my front door into the hall, and after she was gone, I ran to the phone to call the front desk. The phone I got to did not work. I ran to a different room and finally found the phone, and I'm getting shouted at here. So basically, he notices Jerry Seinfeld from the show. He's behind him and he's dressed in a tuxedo. So TV personalities indicate the dreamer has a strong intellect and possibly sees things as in a black and white way, or too formally with regard to something that's going on in life right now. And I say that because of the tuxedo is going to be black and white. Mom didn't like the baby weight. That's what the fat pills and the painkillers are about. Painkillers are about suppression of things. And this caused harm to the people inside. Of course, you're the one on the inside. And we'll leave it there. East West Bookshop coming up this Saturday. Find all the details on my website.